Okay, so hopefully you guys did the Delta Math assignment I gave you yesterday about completing the square and circles, because that's really going to help you with what I'm going to show you today. So make sure you know how to complete the square and you know the equation for a circle. Okay, so one thing, so right here, I'm going to put this on a little squiggly box, and this is going to be your properties you're going to want to remember here. So x equals r cosine theta, y equals r sine theta, r squared is equal to x squared plus y squared, and tangent theta is equal to y over x. So those are just some things to make sure you know. When we're talking about rectangular form, we're talking about in terms of x and y, and we're talking about polar form, we're going to be talking in terms of r and trig functions. So we're going to start with number 36. So the directions say you're going to convert from polar to rectangular form. So we're going to go to polar to rectangular. So we got r equals -2 cosecant theta. All right, so right now this has r and it has a trig function, so I know it's in polar form. I want to go to rectangular form. So the first thing I want to do here is I'm going to divide by the cosecant over here. The reason I want to do that is because I want to get the trig with the r, because if you notice, if I'm trying to get x and y, the trig is with the r, so it's like touching the r. So I want to make sure I bring that over here. Hopefully you remember from Unit 5 that 1 over cosecant is the same thing as sine, right? So this is technically r sine theta, and that's going to be equal to -2. When you get there, you should notice that r sine theta is one of the properties here, so that equals y. So we get y equals -2. So this should look familiar to you. It is just a line, a vertical line at y equals horizontal line at y equals -2. So that's it. So you're just getting it in terms of x and y. All right, let me show you another one, 38. Okay, now this one is r equals, same directions here, r equals -4 cosine theta. So again, I want to bring the cosine theta over. Okay, so in this case I actually don't want to do that because I'll get secant, which is not what I want here. So we're going to use a different property. We're going to use this one here. So you can try doing that, but if you divide by cosine, you're going to get secant, which we don't want secant here, so that's not going to work out. So what we can do is we can multiply both sides by r. So over here we'll get r squared, and over here we're going to get -4r cosine theta. And the reason we do that is because you'll notice two things. One thing is over here we're going to get r cosine theta, which is this property right there. That's going to be x. So I can change that whole thing into an x, because that's one of my properties. And then r squared, you'll notice, is also one of them as well, x squared plus y squared. So I can turn that into x squared plus y squared equals -4x. Now the reason yesterday I had you guys do the delta math completing the square is because you're going to be completing the square, and this is a circle. So you know when you ever see x squared plus y squared, you want to think, okay, that's an equation of a circle, but we need to complete the square. So we're going to move the 4x over. So we're going to get x squared plus 4x, leave a little space to complete the square, plus y squared equals 0. So now you obviously want to complete the square with the right number. You should know how to do that. 4 divided by 2 is 2 times 2 is 4, so plus 4 there. Since I added over there, gotta make sure I add it over here. If I factor this, it's gonna be x plus 2 squared plus y squared equals 4. This should look very familiar to you as an equation for a circle. So this is gonna be a circle at -2, 0, right? You should know that from Algebra 2, -2, 0, and it's going to have a radius of 2, because we know that that's the radius squared, so the radius is 2. So this is your information you need. All right, let me show you another one. Let's do number 40. Okay, so number 40 is r secant theta equals 3. So first thing you want to do here is we can get the r alone, so we can divide by secant on both sides. So we get r equals, and then again 1 over secant. 1 over secant is the same thing as cosine. So I'm going to turn that into 3 cosine theta. Now I'm looking at this and I'm thinking I'm probably going to get this, but I need the r. So that's why what we do, like I did in number 38, is we want to multiply by r on both sides. So we get r squared equals 3r cosine theta. I see my r cosine theta. I know that turns into x. And I know my r squared turns into x squared plus y squared. So, oh yeah, x squared plus y squared is my r squared. So I know I'm going to turn this into x squared plus y squared. We're going to do the same thing I did on the other one. So I'm going to bring that 3x over. So I'm going to move over here, have more space here. So it's going to be x squared minus 3x, leave a little space, plus y squared equals 0. Again, complete the square. -3 divided by 2 is 3 over 2. 3 over 2 squared is 9 over 4. So I'm going to add 9 over 4 on both sides. If I factor this, I'll get x minus 3 over 2 squared plus y squared equals 9 over 4. Again, this part I'm going through fast because you should already know how to complete the square. And I had you guys practice it yesterday, so you should be good on that. This should look familiar to you as an equation for a circle. So I know that it's a circle centered at 3 over 2, 0. And I know the radius is the square root of this right here, so I know it's 3 over 2. All right, so I know you guys like to level up, so that's what we're going to do now. I'm going to do a little level up here. All right, leveling up, 42. So we got r equals 4 cosine theta minus 4 sine theta. And we got to turn that into rectangular form. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you want an r there and there, and I want that to be r squared. So it makes sense that my first step is I'm going to square or times by r the whole thing. So I can get r squared equals 4r cosine theta minus 4r sine theta. So I'm just multiplying the whole thing by r. Now I can change all of my information here. So I got r cosine theta and r sine theta. I can turn that into an x and a y, and I can turn that into x squared plus y squared. So I get x squared plus y squared equals 4x minus 4y. Now basically what you're going to do now is you're going to complete the square 2 times in one equation. So you're going to complete 2 squares in one equation, which I think is kind of fun. Okay, so we have, so we're going to have over here x squared. We're going to move the 4x, so negative 4x, leave a little space. And then I'm going to add the y squared plus 4y, leave a little space, equals 0. So you're completing 2 squares at one time because you're creating the equation of a circle. Anytime you have x squared and y squared, it's going to be, we're talking about a circle. Okay, so 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 squared is 4, so I'm going to add 4 here. Same thing over here, add 4. Since I added a 4 and a 4 twice, over here make sure you add 8 to keep the equation balanced. Factor both of these, so we get x minus 2 squared plus y plus 2 squared equals 8. Again, this should look familiar as an equation of a circle. So this is a circle at the center of it's going to be at 2, -2. And the radius is the square root of this number here, which is 8, so square root of 8. And obviously you can change that to 2√2. Okay, so that's converting to polar to rectangular. So now the other portion is going from rectangular to polar. Rectangular. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to do 2 examples of these. These are pretty straightforward. So 44, we got x equals 5. So, oh, okay, I dropped my pen, so I'm going to use pink now. All right, so we got, we know x is equal to r cosine theta, right up here. We know x is equal to that. So I'm just going to change that x, and I'm going to change it into r cosine theta equals 5. Okay? I'm trying to get the r alone, because if you noticed, every equation we did previously, the r, we were getting the r alone. So in this case, we're going to divide by cosine theta. Divide by cosine theta. And we get r equals 5 over cosine. Remember, you don't want any fractions. You want to simplify all the way. So that's 1 over cosine is secant. So we're going to get r equals 5 secant theta. You know it's in polar form because we have it in terms of r and a trig function. And then I'll show you number 46. We've got 3x plus 4y equals 2. So again, I have x and y, and I want to change those to inform into polar form. So I'm going to use these right there. So instead of x, I'm going to write r cosine theta. And instead of y, I'm going to write r sine theta. And obviously I have a 3 in front, 4 in front, equals 2. Okay, so now, like I said, I'm trying to get r alone. We're always trying to get that r alone. So I see that they both have an r, so I can factor out an r. So I'll get 3 cosine theta plus 4 sine. Let me rewrite that for you. Factor out an r, so I'll have 3 cosine theta plus 4 sine theta equals 2. The last step to get the r alone would just be divide by this whole thing here. So r equals 2 over 3 cosine theta plus 4 sine theta. And that's your answer. And that's it. So the questions I want you to do are, let's see, page 492, and they're going to be numbers 35 through 45 odd.